Okay, let's see what we have. We are at the main switch. We have ground on purple white and we have ground on green. We have good grounds at both wires. The power probe will light up and it'll also show you the voltage, but if that light turns nice and green and you have a good beep, then you have a good ground. This is again the driver's door switch, the main switch. Let's see what the power side looks like. Again, at the driver's door, we do have power. So we have two good grounds and we have power at the main switch. What do we have now, going back to the diagram? We have ground on the purple white. Here's your purple white. I'm going to color this wire purple. And we have ground on the light green. I'm going to leave it green because it is green. And we have power at the power wire. Now we're going to go to the window switch. This is the right rear door. Okay, you have ground on the green wire. And you have no ground on the purple white. This is at the window switch now. Ground on green, you have no ground on your purple. This is your evidence. Now this connector is disconnected, and it is the connector actually going to the motor. Let's look at the switch. Notice the switch looks different. There is power on the pink. This is the switch, the connector that goes to the switch, not the connector that goes to the motor. Now what do we have here? This is at the rear switch. We have a good ground on light green, but you have no ground on the purple. And we should have ground on the purple, but you have no ground on the purple. Now we're not done yet. We do have power on the power wire. Now here's an important note. With the connector attached, you will have ground. Remember, it's normally closed. So you have to test it disconnected. What do I mean by that? With the connector attached, you will have ground. This ground wire is going to come down here, travel across here, go through the motor, again because it's closed, all the circuits are closed. And it should have ground there, okay? That's with it disconnected. You do not have it because there's an open here, there's no ground here. So you have to have it disconnected. If this were connected, then this wire would have ground right here, and even though this purple wire did not have ground, if it were connected, you would actually be testing and getting your sense for ground because it's connected to this wire down here. A little confusing, but look at it closely and you'll understand. Now, the rear switch closed in the down position. We're going to close this switch and the motor runs. In other words, here's our power. We're at the rear switch. We close this connector so the power goes right there. This arrow swings over here and makes the contact and the motor runs. Note that the purple white is not needed because we're coming from power. We're going to close this switch. There's power. Power comes over here. It finds the motor and it finds a ground because our ground is fed from here and the motor runs. This is the rear switch closed in the down position. Rear switch closed in the up position. Now here's our up position. We're going to swing this over and close this switch. There's our ground. Now there was no ground over here. We're going to close this switch. When we do that, our power then runs through here. The motor does not run because it comes over here. This is already closed because that's in the down position and we are testing in the up position. There was no ground there. It was a dead end, so the motor's not going to run. It has power, it's looking for ground, does not find it, so the motor does not run. Let's go to the main switch, the driver's door. We're going to close that in the down position. Here's the main switch, there's the down. We're going to close that switch. There's their down position. When we close that switch, the power should run through here, but the power never made it this far. Remember when we tested at the switch, we did not have power here? The motor does not run. Now Now we're going to test the main switch in the up position. Here's the main switch up. We're going to close this switch. There's the switch. When we close it, now our power runs through here. It's looking for ground. Remember, there was a dead end, no ground there. The motor's not going to run because it's looking for ground and can't find it. Now, important thing here to note is this wire right now is carrying power in the up position. But before, that's because that switch is closed. When that power switch goes open, it's normally open, then this wire actually carries ground. So this wire sometimes carries power, sometimes ground. The same with the purple. Sometimes power, sometimes ground. It's an important detail. Review the diagram closely and you'll see why. The motor does not run. So what do we have? We have ground here, we have power, and the purple-white wire is open somewhere between this rear switch and the main switch. So our problem is the purple-white wire has an open. It is not connected somewhere between these two switches.